Do you know how many sea companions the Deep has had? The truth is, octopuses are not the only creatures he has ever cared about. First of all, octopuses seem to give him a kind of connection that other marine animals do not. Their flexible tentacles create a very different kind of intimacy for him, which is why he has such an unusual attachment to them. Take Ambrosius, for example. After the Deep met her at a party, he quickly became deeply attached to her. Later, when Soldier Boy's energy blast went off, the Deep took Ambrosius away from the scene. From that point on, she became his long-term companion, but he still ended up getting involved with Sage at the same time. Once the truth came out, the Deep completely snapped and smashed her tank, which directly led to her death. Then there was Timothy, who appeared earlier in the story. When the Deep was spending time with his wife, Timothy was there in the tank, watching everything. He could even communicate with him on a mental level, but later, things took a terrible turn. Homelander decided to test the Deep's loyalty. To prove himself, the Deep was forced to eat Timothy, and it became one of the most painful moments of his life. What is worth noting is that the Deep's attachment is not limited to octopuses. Because he can communicate with sea creatures, he may have formed unusual bonds with many forms of marine life. That includes the dolphin launched out of the truck in Season 1, and even the lobster that was killed by a chef. Do you think the Deep may have had some kind of secret connection with those creatures too? Do Homelander's heat vision and Superman's heat vision actually work the same way? In fact, Homelander's heat vision is often portrayed as more destructive than Superman's in terms of raw impact. First, Homelander. His heat vision comes from Compound V-based genetic enhancement. It functions like a biological energy weapon, often described as a high-temperature plasma-like beam. He can control the output precisely, from something as mild as heating milk to full-scale target destruction. He can also fire continuously without visible strain on his body. On top of that, his emotional state can directly affect the intensity of his heat vision, making it even more unpredictable and dangerous in unstable moments. In contrast, Superman's heat vision is described as a form of stored high-energy electromagnetic radiation. It is powered by continuous solar absorption, meaning he needs sunlight to recharge his abilities. In essence, it is a controlled release of solar energy. His heat vision is generally more stable, precise, and consistent. It does not become more dangerous just because of emotional shifts. It is also often shown as more focused on accuracy and large-scale heat output rather than unpredictable escalation. As a darker, more grounded superhero series, The Boys tends to portray superhuman abilities in a more extreme and brutal way to emphasize their destructive potential. That is why Homelander's abilities are often depicted as more violent and visually intense. So if these two heat visions ever collided, who do you think would come out on top? Why do different characters in The Boys have different colors of heat vision? The color of heat vision is not a random visual effect. It actually works like a form of ability encoding shown through color. First, there is Homelander. His heat vision is red. This color represents a stable, high-output energy release, along with strong biological compatibility with Compound V. Later, Ryan further confirms this pattern. He is able to push back Soldier Boy using heat vision, and even against a top-tier soup like Stormfront, his output is strong enough to seriously damage her. In this sense, red can be seen as the standard version of superhuman heat vision. Next is Butcher. His heat vision appears mainly yellow, with a faint hint of white mixed in. This difference comes from the fact that Butcher only gains these abilities through temporary Compound V use. Because the substance itself is unstable, his power output is also inconsistent. However, what's interesting is that even in this unstable state, Butcher is still able to go head-to-head with Homelander, and at times even pressure him. Finally, there is Laser Baby. Her heat vision is a pure blue-white color. Laser Baby is one of Vought's experimental subjects. Since she is still in an infant stage, she cannot fully control her power. The blue-white color reflects that her abilities are still developing and not fully stabilized. So which heat vision do you think is the strongest? Why are the powers in The Boys so weird? They even make these soups look ridiculous. First, there is Black Hole. Inside his body, he has some kind of strange gravitational space. Black Hole can use that force to pull people or objects inside and store them there without damaging them. Even after compressing all that space, his body size does not seem to change at all. But when his stomach takes a heavy hit, he loses control and suddenly expels everything inside, almost like a pressure release. As strange as this power is, it is still pretty useful. In everyday life, you could basically treat it like a backpack. Next is Tech Knight. He has an extremely sharp mind and amazing deduction skills. But that same ability also affected his brain in a strange way. Because of that, Tech Knight became obsessed with anything that has an opening, gap, or hollow space. At any time, in any place, he can get completely distracted by the weirdest objects for that reason. Even during interviews with reporters, he still shows no restraint. His whole focus shifts to the thing in front of him. So what do you think would happen if Tech Knight ever ran into Black Hole? Which characters in the boys' universe have the most broken powers? Even Homelander doesn't make the top 3. Number 3, Crimson Countess. From a pure power-setting perspective, her ability is extremely aggressive. She can build up a huge amount of energy almost instantly, then turn it into a massive explosive fireball and launch it at her target. And the force of that blast is strong enough to wipe out almost anything in its path. But she also has one fatal weakness. She has to charge and release that attack through her hands. So once her hands are restrained, she has almost no way to fight back. And after betraying Soldier Boy, she was ultimately killed by him. Number 2, Kate. She is one of the main characters in Gen V. Based on her power set, she can mentally influence almost any target and force them to do things they normally would never choose to do. She can even force a target into a sleep state. But she also has one major weakness. Her power also has to be triggered through physical contact with her hands. That means once her hands are controlled, she becomes almost no different from a normal person. Number 1, Harper. She has a strange, chameleon-like tail. At first glance, it looks almost funny, but in terms of pure power setting, her ability is unbelievably strong. By touching another soup, Harper can instantly copy that person's power. And on top of that, she can sometimes use that copied ability even more smoothly than the original owner. But she also has a limit. Each copied power only lasts for 1 minute at a time. So who else do you think belongs on this list of insanely overpowered soups? Who in the boys' universe has heat vision? First, there is Laser Baby. She was one of Vought's test subjects. Like Homelander, Laser Baby can generate heat energy from her eyes. These energy blasts are strong enough to cut through almost anything in front of her. But because she could not control her power at first, Vought decided to eliminate her. The scientist Simon tried his best to protect her, but Vought still sent Brainwave after them. At the critical moment, Laser Baby finally gained control of her ability and defeated Brainwave. Next is Homelander. He is the strongest soup in the world, and heat vision is only one of his many powers. Right after he was born, he lost control and used his heat vision to wipe out everyone in the delivery room. As an adult, the power of his heat vision became even more terrifying. He can slice through an entire plane with ease. Even other durable soups usually cannot stand against it. And after being enhanced with V, the power of his heat vision reached an even higher level. The last one is Butcher. To take revenge on Homelander, Butcher chose to inject Temp V. That gave him heat vision and other powers for a short time. He was not only able to cut down soups like gunpowder, but also showed signs of pushing Homelander back during their fight. On top of that, Butcher's heat vision was strong enough to leave a wound on Soldier Boy's face and damage his shield. So do you know why the color of their heat vision is different? What are the most outrageous ways characters die in The Boys? First, there is the Deep. His ability allows him to communicate with marine life. He also has both lungs and gills, allowing him to switch between land and water environments. However, after a massive oil spill caused by Black Noir 2, ocean life begins to see him as an enemy. In the final conflict, he rejects Starlight's warning and chooses to stay aligned with Homelander. After Starlight blasts him into the ocean, he is surrounded by sharks. He is eventually killed by a giant octopus, struck down by its tentacle in the water. Next is Translucent. His ability allows him to bend light and become invisible. However, his clothing does not turn invisible with him. On top of that, his skin is extremely dense and nearly indestructible from the outside. When Translucent discovers Huey recording him, he tries to eliminate Huey, but he is knocked unconscious by Huey and Butcher. After realizing his outer skin cannot be broken from the outside, Butcher chooses to attack from within. In the end, Translucent is killed by an internal explosion. Finally, there is Robin. At the very beginning of the story, Robin is with Huey, planning their future together and imagining a life they could share. But A-Train, moving at extreme speed, runs straight through the street without stopping. In an instant, Robin is killed on impact, leaving only Huey holding her hands. A-Train briefly apologizes, then immediately leaves the scene. Robin's death becomes the true starting point of the entire series. So, what other absurd and ironic deaths do you remember from The Boys? Which cancer-based power is stronger in The Boys universe, Shan-Chi or Butcher? Shan-Chi is a character from The Boys Presents Diabolical. After her body was exposed to Compound V, her cancer cells mutated. They developed tentacle-like structures, similar to what Butcher later shows. Her tentacles can pierce through dozens of targets in an instant. They can also absorb biological matter from other life forms to restore energy. In comparison, Butcher's tentacles are mainly used for direct combat. In terms of defense, Butcher's tentacles can block regular bullets, but against higher higher-level superhuman attacks, such as heat or energy-based abilities, they can still be severely damaged. Shanxi's tentacles, however, show stronger durability. They can resist standard firearms and even hold up better against certain superhuman attacks. In terms of consciousness, the differences are even more striking. Butcher's cancer evolved into a split-like personality known as Joe Kessler. This presence exists inside his mind, influencing his thoughts and decisions, and sometimes appearing as hallucinations that interact with him. Shanxi's cancer, after absorbing enough energy, developed full self-awareness. It eventually separated from her body completely and became an independent organism. In that form, it continued to grow by consuming nearby life forms. Its size increased dramatically, along with its attack power and durability. These traits also scaled up exponentially over time. Eventually, during its confrontation with Shanxi, it disappeared without a clear trace. So in your opinion, whose ability is actually stronger? Which superpowered characters in The Boys series can control electricity? First, there's Nubia. She appears in The Boys Presents Diabolical. With the help of Compound 5, Nubia gained superhuman strength. She can hurt almost anyone with just her fists. At the same time, she developed the ability to manipulate electrical energy. Nubia can generate strong electrical currents from her hands, ready for use in battle. These currents are powerful enough to paralyze even someone as strong as Homelander temporarily. Her electricity control can also influence the weather, creating massive lightning storms. These storms can respond to her direction, striking enemies that come near Nubia with precision. Next is Stormfront. She was the first official superhero. Stormfront can produce powerful plasma discharges. These purple lightning bolts can shoot from around her body and immediately stun and paralyze targets. However, her plasma attacks are usually not lethal. Several characters in the series have been hit multiple times without lasting injury, so she often needs to sustain her electrical attacks over time to cause permanent harm. Additionally, Stormfront can use electrical energy to throw objects or enemies several meters in a chosen direction. According to the lore, she could even throw a full-sized Boeing 747 with ease. So, who do you think has the stronger electricity control ability? What strange superpowers show up in The Boys Presents Diabolical? First, there is Groundhog. He is a villain character designed by Vought for marketing purposes. Even though he usually acts rude and talks rough, he still watches his language around kids. The most eye-catching thing about Groundhog is his hands. In place of normal hands, he has two hammers. That makes grabbing things extremely difficult, but it also turns his arms into deadly weapons. With a single strike, he can smash through almost anything. And as a soup, Groundhog also has extremely high durability. Even when two soups attacked him together, he did not seem to take any real damage. He also stayed standing after heavy electric shock and a strong physical impact. Next is Nubia. After being injected with Compound V, she gained superhuman strength. Just using her fists, she was able to hurt Groundhog. At the same time, Nubia can generate powerful electric current from both hands. She can use those electric attacks to injure enemies or leave them stunned. And the strength of her electricity is enough to affect other soups. To some extent, Nubia also seems able to influence the weather and create intense storms. And the purple lightning inside those storms even appears to strike at her enemies on its own. So who do you think has the stronger power set, Nubia or Stormfront? What are some even stronger superpowers that appeared in The Boys Presents Diabolical? First, there is Great Wide Wonder. He has supersonic flight, fast enough to break the sound barrier within seconds, and reach speeds of around Mach 2. The sonic boom created by that speed is so intense that even someone as powerful as Homelander can feel uncomfortable around it. But despite having that level of power, he secretly carried the weight of many deaths behind the scenes. During a college celebration, he once took several ordinary people up into space, which led to their deaths. Even so, Vought managed to cover up the scandal. To get justice for the innocent victims, Billy Butcher secretly tracked down the person working behind the scenes for Soups and forced him to poison Great Wide Wonder's drink. In the end, after being pushed into an excited state, Great Wide Wonder lost control during a performance and crashed into Ironcast, killing both of them. Next is Jack from Jupiter. He is also one of the side characters from the Boys comic series. Jack from Jupiter also has high-speed flight, and his control over speed-based momentum is extremely strong. He can even stop himself instantly in mid-air, but Jack's most powerful ability is still his invulnerability field. When he says the word Carpo, a red energy field surrounds his body and gives him an extremely high level of near-invulnerable power. Within that field, he can withstand almost any attack. But the problem is that the field cannot stay active for very long. In the end, Billy Butcher caught that opening and killed him. So what other even stronger superpowers do you know? What strange, superpowered kids appeared in The Boys Presents Diabolical? First is Sky. After being pushed away by the other kids in town, Sky stole a vial of Compound V and decided to gain powers so she could make friends. After injecting it, Sky developed the ability to control waste. She can manipulate feces and even use that power to create sentient forms. And her ability is not limited to her own waste. She can also activate and control other people's waste. But Vought quickly found out about it. They sent the Deep to bring the creature back, and he pressured Sky to hand it over. By that point, Sky had already started treating it like a real friend. Then, with its encouragement, Sky controlled the waste moving through the sewers and launched an attack on the Deep. Completely overwhelmed, the Deep chose to run. From that point on, Sky decided to live together with the beings she had created. Next is Laser Baby. She was one of Vaught's experimental subjects. Her heat vision was even more powerful and destructive than Homelander's. But because she could not control that ability, Vought decided they wanted to eliminate her. The scientist in charge, Simon, had already formed an emotional bond with her, so he took Laser Baby and escaped with her. But soon after, they were chased down by Brainstorm. At the critical moment, Laser Baby finally learned to control her power. After defeating Brainstorm, she and Simon were able to leave safely together. So what other strange, superpowered kids from Diabolical do you remember?